Hello, everyone, with me at the broadcasting time. Later, much later, I'm aLex. We're here together in a very special community of Sun and Moon Yoga Studio. And we're so fortunate. I don't know, these things tickle me. They seem plain to us, but as we live in them like a fish swimming in water, right? But the technology we have, the miraculous tools we have to be together. I'm just gonna see. Hello, Sandra. Sandra, so good that you're here with us this morning. So um, this community was begun, just a little bit of history, and I'll dive into our theme and our practice today in just a moment. Uh, it was founded by J.J. Gormley. Started at the basement of her home, and then I think it was 1994, that the space opened on it's now called Langston Boulevard in Arlington, Virginia. Another studio opened, I think it was 2000 or 2001, in down the pike in Fairfax. And the current one of the current co-owners, Annie, when she became manager, through many managers that I've seen come through, and she was, well, actually, I'm not sure if she was manager yet, but she had a vision. And when was that? It was also maybe around 2005, I'm thinking, six. I'll have to see if she remembers. Of community, and the studio has always been like that, a place for community where sometimes we've had even daycare, childcare, while so people could come and practice and have their children cared for a while. It's been hard to sustain that, but we have offered it sometimes. We have we the yoga that's practiced is really a very holistic yoga, not just about the body, but about our minds and hearts and our community. And many of us who have been in this community either come and go, or once you're a part of it, it's like your lifelong family for a long time. So if you're new to us, welcome. And if wherever you are with us, we're so glad you're here. And it's an important part, as I'll segue into the theme I have of community today and how it's related to our practice. And yeah, it is an important part of practice of our individual paths as well. So today I'll talk a little bit. We'll do a very small movement together, but you won't need much space. We'll do it from sitting. Um, and whatever you need. So I just mentioned earlier, I have a cushion that I will likely need to slide under my knee. I've got a cushion under my pelvis, maybe a shawl or something to throw over yourself as we sit. As we're pretty quiet, the body temperature does tend to go down. So as I talk a little bit to give us this theme that helps us to come into presence, to come into the stillness of sitting, which was what we'll do after a little micro movement. Start to settle your body, start to arrive, which you've been doing, but make it more conscious now. I'm reminded of a pointer one of my teachers has given, that if there's any healing that's needed, and for most of us there is some healing needed in some way, it's awareness that is the healer. So do let yourself feel the ground. I use these pointers also from some of my teachers of ground, breath, and sound. Ground is so useful. You don't have to use them in that order, that trio, but I use it very often. It's almost second nature, like a practice that's just there, just like brushing my teeth, making my tea in the morning. Ground is where I usually go to first. On occasion, breath is first, but ground, and for most of us, it's so helpful because we're spatially sort of, our attention is in our head often, in our thoughts, and our where our vision is, and the sense gates of the ears, the nose, the mouth, the eyes. So to expand that to the whole body, to feeling the whole shape and mass of ourself, and how we're in contact with the ground. So that is integrally pulls together gravity and her opposing force, levity, but gravity first, because also this upward attention to our senses is more with the levity, and we've come to be a bit unbalanced in the gravity, the downward pull toward the very center of the earth, the spot that is the unique and only spot that we are right now, that we're claiming. This real estate helps us to our real state. Gail Fleming has a funny story about that. Real state. And when we just settle our attention, and this being together, there's something that I'm even sensing right now, even as I'm not really with you in the space. I know that you're out there. It helps me. It helps my attention to focus better here on our task at hand, which is toward increasing that part of us that brings us into a balance where we can sense presence, capital P, awareness, capital A, God, capital G, however you term it, that boundless, limitless, timeless, formless, but enlivening everything force. And so thank you for being here again, my community. And so from where you are right now, we haven't really even fleshed out the whole posture, air quotes. Just lift, we've probably done this one recently. Just lift your right shoulder or your left, choose one, a little bit towards your ear, just a tiny bit, not the whole distance, but just a little bit towards your ear. Right shoulder lift and lower. In fact, I encourage you to lift just the tiniest bit that makes it a movement. Maybe it's only half inch, quarter inch, and then fully plop, just let it go. You might need a little more. I need actually about 2 or 3 inches, and just plop. And for now, well, just watch what's happening with your head. Maybe you automatically tilt your head toward the rising shoulder, and that's fine. Or you could resist that and let the head stay at center, or even let the head pull away a little. Just slowly, like a pause, adding a pause after you plop, let the shoulder go back down. Just pause deeply in that pull. It helps with the gravity, that sensing the heaviness, sensing gravity. As you like, you can go a little higher, but keeping the movement, keeping the aim for this movement to be smooth and feeling good. And then let it go. Just come back to a more neutral observing from the center. It's possible that even that little bit of movement, that micro movement, already changed something about what you sense, how you sense yourself in this space. Anything about the breath, just the energetic quality of being here, the mental qualities, emotional qualities. Let's take the same action on the left side. It won't necessarily be the same. Start with just the tiniest little lift and plop lowering, just to let go. There's mechanical movement that's needed to make the lift, and then the letting go is sort of just that, just a letting go. So it's a really nice metaphor of using the body to do something and then let go of the doing. And you decide how far up you want to squeeze. And while slow and is very useful, small and slow, you can also go fast, go really fast and big. And when you sense, like when I go big, I can feel where the limit is, where the limit, my limit, right at that moment is. And the next time, valuable to come short of that limit or go around it in some way. Your body knows what I mean by that. Okay, and now pause again. Just let your arms rest, shoulders rest. Sense breath, sense sound. So sound is shorthand, that cue, that pointer is shorthand for space around. Sound is sort of coming at us from everywhere, from around us, above us, below us, inside us, near and far away. And so earlier when I mentioned arriving, and it's a little a step that I skipped over in a way, is perhaps you're like me, perhaps not, arriving here or before getting here and the tasks of things that came before, in my case, walking the dog, feeding the pets, getting my own snacks, breakfast snacks ready, getting my space ready. There's a lot of activity, and sometimes just coming to feel the ground, taking our seat and feeling the ground already kind of moves those away, or maybe it's the future things that were with you, or some other concern, some health concern or some relational concern that's been present. And that what I'm aiming at here is that it may still be with you, but you might have kind of put it in the background. It's still, I'm sure, important in some way. Okay, now another movement of the shoulder, of the right shoulder. Now pull it down. The down may be a lesser movement than the up was. I clicked on my space heater. And then from the down, pull, just let go to let it rebound back to the starting place. And be conscious of the cadence you're choosing, the rhythm. The duration of the down and how it might be coordinating with the breath. And the duration of the letting go. And my mind immediately compared how the letting go from in this movement direction is different than the letting go that was from the the upward pulling and then letting go direction. And you may also notice what you feel through other parts of the body, how you feel this, maybe a diagonal pull through the upper chest or through the upper back of the shoulder blades and shoulder region, how the spine is affected, how the pelvis, maybe even the legs as well as the arms are affected. And then let the movement become an up and a downward. So the downward now is a more, not just a plop, but also actually you could do it a plop and then join it more fully by pulling down, or join the plop and the intention of pulling down. And this might even become a little oval or circular because of the shapes of the three-dimensional shapes of our bones and joints, which are not just 2D and linear, but there's an arc that happens. And then let it join in with opposing. So left shoulder goes up as the right shoulder goes down. And these two ovals perhaps, or lines that are happening. And there's breath, and the arms are just coming along for the ride. And while the rest of the body is also kind of along for the ride, there are parts that are assisting by releasing. There might be some movement in the ribs that's increasing and joining in and getting freed up. Almost feel like this moonwalk, a seated moonwalk happening. And just play with it your own way. Maybe you'll just isolate now just the left shoulder to do just the downward pull and rebound up. And useful to put a pause in there anywhere you like, just a stopping of everything. So you're on your own exploration now, but do add a pause as I've just done in my body. My mouth is moving, but my body stopped, my shoulders stopped that action. Just explore any part of this, the ups or the downs, left, right, any combination of those. I'm noticing what's happening at the lower ribs and belly. There's some nice massage of the feel of the organs of my belly there happening. And you can even feel like what the hands are doing. Are they just sliding along inert, or perhaps they join into this almost dance? Enjoy what we're doing. I'm pausing again, but you can continue moving, maybe another couple breaths, another 8 breaths or so of this. Play with micro-moving, attending, being conscious of our bodies more. And when you're ready, just come to a still place. Just pause. Receive what's new, which may be very potent right now. Obvious what's new, even if it's very subtle. And even state out loud to your space, and I'll model that here. It's useful because we get to hear our own words, really hear it, not just in our heads if I was only thinking it. And I do this often. This little practice is from something called focusing, a product of Eugene Genlin's work. Eugene Genlin. And I was prompted to do this now. I often do it in these sharings, but because I realized it's subtle and I wasn't even sure what words I would give it. So let me give it a try. It's something about like my belly. My belly is happy and big and full. And as I say that, I get to think, is that accurately what's happening? Pretty close. And we know when it's accurate when there's a resonance, like a clear bell. It's a belly. There's something about my belly. And you can use poetry, you can use hand gestures. In fact, maybe the hand gestures is this for me. There's this joy, there's a smile. You can use poetry, imagery, song. There's a presence and a joy and a fullness and an ease. So I'd be curious how that's happening for you, the speaking of it and verifying that it is accurate, what you're telling yourself. And let's take that now into a stillness of what's often termed meditation practice. Adjust your seat any way you may need. We'll sit together for about 8 minutes. We'll start with the bell again. The movement may have nicely segued us toward this stillness. And we can use those cues of ground, sound, breath again to reconfirm being right here. And just taking these first few moments, and it may not take much more movement at all, but there may be little shifts, like letting the back body get a little bit heavier, letting the belly, the whole belly area relax a little bit more, letting the jaw relax, being intentional about how we've placed our arms and hands and the gaze of our eyes, whether opened or closed. Just settling. So ground can provide a powerful tether in a sense. Breath complements the tether of ground. And it's very light. It's really wireless in a way. It's a wire that's free. There's total freedom here. If movement is needed, it can happen. But in a sense, coming to stillness it takes us toward a freedom and a safety. Which may feel at times assaulted by fidgetiness or distraction or emotion or mind storms. And all of that is part of that third cue, sound, space around. Which for me points to all that's dynamic, coming and going, the manifestation. And always changing, even if it sometimes feels like it's stuck with us for a long time. Static and stagnant. As long as we can name it, it's going to change at some point. And somehow sound, perhaps sometimes hearing is thought to be the subtlest of the senses, of the five senses. Maybe it's something in that, like the poem by William Stafford, where the listening has to be so full to really feel and hear. And it's so penetrating, not just of the ears, but seemingly of every cell. And in a sense, all of that comes and goes is part of our Sangha, is part of our community, our teachers. Our support. As you continue your stillness and silence, I'm going to slowly read this poem called Aimless Love by Billy Collin. This morning as I walked along the lake shore, I fell in love with a wren, and later in the day with a mouse the cat had dropped under the dining room table. In the shadows of an autumn evening, I fell for a seamstress, still at her machine in the tailor's window, and later for a bowl of broth, steam rising like smoke from a naval battle. This is the best kind of love, I thought. Without recompense, without gifts or unkind words, without suspicion or silence on the telephone. The love of the chestnut, the jazz cap in one hand on the wheel. No lust, no slam of the door. The love of the miniature orange tree, the clean white shirt, the hot evening shower, the highway that cuts across Florida. No waiting, no huffiness or rancor. Just a twinge every now and then for the wren who had built her nest on a low branch overhanging the water. For the dead mouse, still dressed in its light brown suit. For my heart is always propped up in a field on its tripod, ready for the next arrow. After I carried the mouse by the tail to a pile of leaves in the woods, I found myself standing at the bathroom sink, gazing down affectionately at the soap, so patient and soluble, so at home in its pale green soap dish. I could feel myself falling again as I felt its turning in my wet hands and caught the scent of lavender and stone. Everything is waiting for us here, as David White writes. The broadest of our community. A few more breaths together, friends. So let's let the transition away from the stillness. Away, let the transition of this particular practice to whatever is next for you today. Let it come gradually, as we'll formally end here, bringing the palms together, bowing, feeling our head, our hands, our heart, our whole body of our community, and just sensing for yourself what this gesture means for you. I don't have to tell you, you know, thousands of years people have been doing this kind of gesture, and that holds meaning for us as well, cross-culturally, culturally. So may you enjoy your day. May you tap into what you feel is your community, and especially these last few years after some have done isolation due to pandemic and other reasons, um, COVID virus, and sometimes we need our alone time, and we can draw from that for sure, and we need that. And yet we also really need each other in the communities of various purposes and like-mindedness that we come together in. Thank you. Thank you, and see you next week. Be well. Check out what's on sunandmoonstudio.com and joy. Thanks, Mary Beth. Thanks, Sandra. Thanks to those of you who joined later, and Catherine, Kamalesh, Nancy, some of Jackie, Virginia. I don't know, I'm missing names, I'm sure, but I'm so happy you're out there in this community.